The sound of freedom. The darkness pressed against them like a living thing. Isaiah counted heartbeats, measured time in the rhythm of Ruth's breathing against Abigail's chest. The child had been awake for hours now, silent as stone, her small hand gripping Moses's thick finger. She understood somehow. 4 years old, and she understood that sound meant death. Above them, boots scraped across the barn floor. Someone coughed. A voice muttered something about the cold. Hannah's fingers found Isaiah's in the blackness, squeezed once. He squeezed back, a conversation without words. Still here, still breathing, still free, even in this tomb of earth and timber. How long? Samuel's whisper was barely audible, more breath than sound. Isaiah didn't answer. Time had become meaningless in the root cellar, hours bleeding into each other, marked only by the changing of the guard above and the slow deterioration of Mercy's breathing. The old woman lay against the earthen wall, her chest rising and falling in shallow gasps that seemed to take more from her with each cycle. Clara knelt beside Mercy, one hand on the old woman's forehead. In the absolute darkness, touch was everything. Clara's other hand rested on the knife Isaiah had taken from the Patterson kitchen, their only weapon, though what good a single blade would do against rifles and dogs, Isaiah couldn't imagine. Elijah shifted position, trying to take weight off her swollen ankle. Samuel moved with her, supporting his sister without being asked. They'd been inseparable since birth, Isaiah knew. Twins who'd sworn never to be separated. He wondered if they would keep that promise, or if this cellar would become their shared grave. Isaiah. Moses's voice was barely a rumble, felt more than heard. The child needs water. They all needed water. The canteens Rachel Patterson had passed down were long empty. Isaiah's throat felt like sand, his tongue thick and useless. But Ruth was 4 years old, and children needed water more than adults. He was about to whisper a response when something scraped against the cellar wall. Everyone froze. The sound came again. Deliberate, rhythmic. 3 scrapes, then silence, then 3 more. Isaiah's heart hammered. The slave catchers had found the entrance. They were digging through the wall. In minutes, they'd break through and... Light suddenly flooded a small section of the wall near the floor. Not torchlight. Lamplight, warm and yellow, coming through a gap no bigger than a man's fist. A mouth appeared in the opening. Friend Patterson's voice, barely audible. "Can thee hear me?" Isaiah crawled forward, pressed his face to the gap. Yes. They planned to search again at first light, more thoroughly this time. Garrett suspects the barn, though he cannot prove it. They will tear apart every board if necessary. How long until first light? 2 hours, perhaps 3. 3 hours. Isaiah felt Hannah's hand tighten on his shoulder. Behind him, he heard Abigail's sharp intake of breath, Ruth's small whimper quickly stifled. "There is a way," Patterson continued, "but it is dangerous. The creek that runs past my property, it flows underground for nearly a mile before emerging in the woods north of here. The entrance is in my spring house. If thee can reach it without being seen, the current will carry thee beyond the search perimeter." "Underground," Isaiah repeated. "In the dark." "In the dark," Patterson confirmed. "The passage is narrow in places. There are risks, but I have guided others through it. Most survived. Most." Isaiah closed his eyes. Behind him, 8 people waited for his decision. 8 lives balanced against the word most. "The guards," he said. "How many?" 4. 2 at the barn, 1 at the house, 1 patrolling the perimeter. They change every 4 hours. The next change comes at dawn. And the dogs, penned near the barn. They will bark if they catch your scent." Isaiah thought fast. 4 guards. Dogs that would alert at the first wrong move. A desperate dash across open ground to a spring house, then an underground river in pitch darkness that might or might not lead to freedom. It was suicide. It was also their only chance. "When?" he asked. "The guard just changed. He has 4 hours before the next rotation. I recommend waiting until just before dawn. The guards will be tired, less alert. I will create a distraction at the house. When thee hears the bell ring 3 times, move quickly to the spring house. I will meet thee there." The light disappeared. The opening sealed with a soft, scraping sound. Isaiah turned back to the others, though he could see nothing in the renewed darkness. "You heard?" "Heard," Moses confirmed. "Underground river, in the dark, with a 4-year-old child and an old woman who can barely breathe." "Most survived," Samuel said. his voice tight with something between hope and terror. Most isn't all. Most is better than none, Clara said, which is what we'll be if we stay here. Isaiah felt Hannah's breath against his ear. What do you think? What did he think? He thought about Thomas, the cooper, sold to Mississippi for trying to run. He thought about his brother, sold to Georgia at 13. His sister sold to Alabama at 15. He thought about every enslaved person who'd tried and failed, who'd chosen the lash over the uncertainty of freedom. And he thought about Philadelphia, about walking free streets with Hannah's hand in his, about Abigail teaching Ruth to read in a home they owned, about Mercy dying in a bed instead of in the dirt, about Samuel and Elijah growing old together, never separated. I think, he said slowly, that we didn't come this far to die in a hole. Silence. Then Moses. Amen to that. We need to prepare, Isaiah said. Moses, you'll carry Ruth. Abigail, can you swim? Enough. Samuel, you help Elijah. Her ankle won't hold in fast current. Clara, you stay with Mercy. Hannah and I will lead. I can manage myself. Mercy's voice came from the darkness, stronger than Isaiah expected. Been managing 70 years without help. Don't plan to stop now. Yes, ma'am, Isaiah said, allowing himself a small smile in the darkness. But you'll let Clara stay close, just in case. Just in case, Mercy agreed. They settled into waiting. Isaiah tried to calculate distances, timing, risks, 4 guards, dogs, open ground between the barn and springhouse. How far? 50 yards? 100? In darkness, with exhausted bodies and a child who might cry out at any moment. His mind kept returning to Patterson's words. Most survived. What happened to the others? Drowned in the underground passage? Trapped in narrow spaces? Swept away by currents too strong to fight? Hannah's hand found his again. Stop thinking. Can't. Then think about this. She leaned close, her lips brushing his ear. Remember what you promised me, in the cave, before the water? That I'd keep going, even if... No. Her voice was fierce. The other promise. The real one. Isaiah remembered. They'd been alone for a moment in the darkness, separated from the others by a bend in the cave wall. Hannah had pulled him close, her hands on his face. Promise me, she'd whispered. Promise that when we're free, when, not if, you'll marry me proper. With a preacher and a license and everything legal. Promise that our children will be born free. Promise that we'll grow old together in a house with our names on the deed. He'd promised, and then he'd kissed her, tasting salt from her tears or his, he couldn't tell which. Now, in the root cellar with death waiting above and below, he pulled her close and whispered back, I promise. Everything legal. Our names on the deed. Children born free. Liar, she said softly. But she was smiling. He could hear it in her voice. Liar, he agreed and kissed her forehead. Time crawled. Above them, the guards changed position occasionally, their boots a constant reminder of how thin the barrier between freedom and capture really was. Ruth whimpered once, but Abigail soothed her with whispered words about the quiet game, about being brave mice hiding from the cat. Mercy's breathing grew more labored. Clara moved closer to her, and Isaiah heard the old woman's whispered words. Don't you dare leave me behind, girl. I'm going through that water if I have to do it dead. You understand? I will not die a slave. Yes, ma'am, Clara said. We'll get you through. Damn right you will. Samuel and Elijah sat in silence, but Isaiah could feel their fear. They were so young, 16 and 14, barely more than children themselves. What right did he have to lead them into an underground river that might kill them all? What right did he have to keep them in this cellar until the slave catchers tore it apart? No good choices, only choices that might keep them alive a little longer. The hours passed with agonizing slowness. Isaiah's body ached from sitting in one position. His cracked ribs sent sharp pains through his chest with each breath. His throat screamed for water. Finally, after what felt like days but was probably only 3 hours, they heard it. The bell. Once, twice, 3 times. Now? Isaiah whispered. Moses first with Ruth, then Abigail, Samuel and Elijah, Clara and Mercy. Hannah and I will go last. Move fast but quiet. If the dogs bark, run anyway. Don't stop for anything. Moses found the trap door by feel, pushed it up slowly. Cold air rushed in, carrying the scent of hay and horse and freedom. He climbed out, Ruth clinging to his back like a baby possum, silent and trusting. One by one they emerged from their tomb. Isaiah counted them out, his heart pounding so hard he thought the guards must hear it. Abigail. Samuel with Elijah leaning on him. Clara supporting Mercy, the old woman's breathing harsh but determined. Hannah started up the ladder. Isaiah grabbed her hand, squeezed once. She squeezed back, then climbed. Isaiah followed, pulling himself up with arms that trembled from exhaustion. The barn was dark, but after the absolute blackness of the cellar, it seemed bright as day. He could see shapes, the others clustered near the door, Moses's massive form, Ruth's small head against his shoulder. From the house came the sound of raised voices, Patterson's distraction. They had minutes, maybe less. "The spring house," Isaiah whispered. "Stay low. Follow me." He cracked the barn door open. 50 yards of open ground stretched between them and the small stone building that housed the spring. 2 guards stood with their backs to them, looking toward the house where Patterson was arguing loudly with someone about property rights and the sanctity of a man's home. Isaiah waited until both guards moved toward the commotion, then slipped out into the night. Behind him, he heard the others following, their footsteps soft on the frozen ground. 30 yards, 20, 10. A dog barked, then another, then all of them, a chorus of alarm that shattered the night. "Run!" Isaiah shouted, abandoning stealth for speed. They ran. Moses's long strides ate up the ground, Ruth bouncing on his back. Abigail sprinted beside him, her face set in determination. Samuel half-carried Elijah, both of them gasping. Clara pulled Mercy along, the old woman's feet barely touching the ground. Shouts erupted behind them. "The barn! Check the barn! They're running! Get the dogs loose!" Isaiah reached the spring house first, tore open the door. Inside, water bubbled up from the ground, flowing into a stone basin before disappearing through a dark opening in the floor. Patterson stood beside it, holding a lantern. "Quickly," the Quaker said. "The current is strong. Let it take thee. Do not fight it. The passage opens into a pool in the woods. Thee will know it by the moonlight." Moses didn't hesitate. He stepped into the basin, Ruth clinging to him, and let the current pull them under. They disappeared into the darkness with barely a splash. Abigail followed immediately, diving after her daughter. Samuel and Elijah went together, holding hands. Clara looked at Mercy. The old woman nodded. "Together, child, whatever comes." They stepped into the water as one. Hannah turned to Isaiah. Behind them, the dogs were getting closer, their baying frantic. Men shouted, torches appeared. "Go," Isaiah said. "Together," Hannah said. They stepped into the basin holding hands, and the current took them both, pulling them down into cold darkness, into the unknown, into the desperate gamble that was their only path to freedom. The last thing Isaiah heard before the water closed over his head was Patterson's voice. "God speed thee to freedom, friends." Then there was only the rush of water, the pressure of the current, Hannah's hand in his, and the wild, terrifying hope that somewhere ahead lay light and air and the promise of a life they could call their own.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.